Hi, this is Aaron Wilson. I'm at NRG Stadium where the Texans created some excitement in the final day of the NFL Draft by selecting USC running back Woody Marks. It's quite a Toy Story. Pardon the pun, but I'm going to have a little fun with this one because of his nickname, Woody. And we had a chance to talk to the new Texans running back on a Zoom call. And Woody has been his nickname since he was a baby. His grandmother gave him the nickname because if the Toy Story movie wasn't on, he would cry. If they put the movie on, it would pacify him. It would soothe him down. And he even wore the Woody costume to school, and so it's stuck ever since. He still watches the movies to this day, and he's a big fan. So, yeah, that's great. It's a fun story. But what's exciting for Texans fans, I believe, is the shiftiness, the versatility of this running back. And he's a Mississippi State transfer, really solidified his draft stock with his ability to run between the tackles he showed for the USC Trojans. So last year, 1,133 rushing yards, 5.7 yards per carry, very good average, 9 touchdowns, also catches 47 passes for 321 yards. Great receiver out of the backfield, 261 career catches, including his time in the Southeastern Conference at Mississippi State, 3,016 career rushing yards, 5.0 average. So to me, he's a perfect complement to Pro Bowl runner Joe Mixon, and he's really knowledgeable about the Texans. So he watches a lot of Texans games, likes their offense, likes Joe Mixon, and Dameon Pierce has been watching Dameon since he was at Florida. So SEC guy, very familiar with the Texans and everything they're doing. So he really is a good example of what can happen in the NCAA transfer portal. Some of the good stuff when you switch programs, because the offense he was in with Lincoln Riley exposed him to a lot of diverse concepts, and I think made him a more all-around back even than before, when he was very solid with, you see what he did with, Mississippi State, 573 rushing yards his last season there, 4 touchdowns, 23 catches, 167 yards, 2 touchdowns. Year before, 582 rushing yards, 9 touchdowns, 48 catches, 288 yards. So you can throw it to him out of the backfield, good third down back. He can return kicks, and he's a good athlete. He's not the fastest, but he's fast enough at 5'10", 207, 4.52 speed, 1.50 10-yard split, very shifty, a 35-inch vertical leap, and even bench press 225 pounds 18 times with a 9'11 broad jump. So he's explosive, he's tough, and he can get downhill or catch out of the backfield, and you can use him in zone plays. I think he has good vision and acceleration, and they were looking for a running back. They looked at a lot. Shedeur Smith, Quinshon Judkins, Travion Henderson, Jaden Blue. And ultimately, they go with the USC running back, and they were very selective about this, looking at a lot of USC players, including his teammate, Jaylen Smith, who's a versatile nickel. We didn't get a chance to discuss him, so we'll get a little more into him at the end of this video, along with what else they've been involved in since the picks that we discussed for Jaden Higgins and Arante Ursary, the big wide receiver, and the big tackle. So Texans really concentrate on offense. They got Jalen Noel, and I think there's still going to be some defensive tackles left for them. Jalen Noel is the Iowa State receiver, the teammate of Jaden Higgins. So they get these guys, they're roommates, and really good wide receivers. So it's good that they got those guys. A lot of people wanted Jaden Higgins. I just don't think for some reason there was enough awareness about Higgins, but he's outstanding. And so, going back to Marks, a lot of personality, good personality, Southern gent type from Carver High School, Atlanta, Georgia. And so in high school, 6,391 yards, 59 touchdowns. So at every stage of football, he's been successful. So a lot to like about Woody Marks and what he can bring to the backfield. I know a lot of people wanted Travion Henderson. Yes, he did a Zoom with them. Quinshon Judkins, he visited. Shedeur Smith visited. Jaden Blue visited. But ultimately, they go with Woody Marks. And he said he had a lot of contact with them. Senior Bowl, Combine, and a lot of Zooms. So they kind of worked behind the scenes to have enough exposure to a player that I think is durable, is tough, is fast, has good size at 5'10", 207, good body lean, just runs the football very well. A lot of things to like about Woody Marks, Mr. Toy Story. And cute story, he likes the movie and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, that's great. And I think that little personality and as a reporter, always can use a fun story. And this was certainly a fun conversation with Woody Marks. I want to get a little more into Jaylen Noel, the Big 12 Special Teams Player of the Year that they picked. And Noel, someone that I think is very shifty, classic slot type of receiver, and he'll compete for playing time. I expect him to have a role on special teams and on offense. He's fast. He's a burner. He's really, really fast. He can get deep. He can run after the catch, and a lot of special team skills. So Frank Ross, the special teams coordinator, and the offense coordinator, Nick Caley, both be getting a lot of mileage out of Jaylen Noel. And so they get him, they double up at Iowa State. So I think that's good, just to get some guys that have been teammates. They really like the Iowa State guys as far as how they're coached by Matt Campbell. That was a recurring theme with Texans general manager Nick Caserio discussing the programs the players come from, including PJ Fleck from Minnesota coaching Arante Ursary. So these are no-nonsense kind of programs where they take it seriously, and you can tell, obviously, from Nick's demeanor after the draft, and maybe it's a little late for him. He gets up very early to work out and to get to work. So these drafts go late into the night, and I don't necessarily think he's a night owl, but I never asked him that question before, but I heard he gets up really early, so that might be why Nick was a little just kind of, getting to the point, but he was more than polite. He answered all the questions and got into it all, but it just seemed like he was, maybe at that point not too into a press conference, but afterward, when the draft's over, I'm sure he can relax a little bit, and we'll talk to D'Amico Ryans later today, and we'll hear from whatever picks they have in 6th round and 7th round, depending on trades, of course. So Texans doing some business, getting some things done, and just making moves. A lot of people ask me about Shedeur Sanders. Shedeur Sanders is now Cleveland Brown, so his long wait is over. And now people can go on to move on to something else. It was becoming like a national obsession. And what I'd heard about Shedeur was similar to other people, and I did report this on a guest video I did, but with Shedeur, the meetings he had with the Steelers, also with the Jets, were not great. And it wasn't just that he said he wanted to have the offense tailored to him. It was just kind of a lack of preparation. I think he needed an agent. I think he needed someone to help him. And people that were concerned so much about his dad being involved, maybe his dad needed to be involved a little more. I think he was trying to not hurt his son by being overbearing, but ultimately someone needed to be advising him a little more about how to prepare for the meetings, for the whiteboard. And he's a sharp guy. He's a good guy. He's a nice guy. But I think that he just didn't do a lot of prep. That's what I kept hearing, was trying to sort of just kind of wing it when he was up there talking to them. And it came off as like, well, I don't really have to participate in the process. I'm Shedeur Sanders. Well, you still have to participate in the process. And I think he just did not approach the NFL scouting combine the right way. And yes, these things matter, especially if you're not elite at any skill. He's a good quarterback, not a great quarterback, but he can work at it. And last time I checked, Tom Brady was a 6th-round pick. So, with Shedeur, good luck in the NFL. A lot of people here in Houston that know him because he's around a lot have really high opinions of him. So I haven't gotten to know Shedeur as much, but I've heard great things about him. It's just a matter of the team's preferences, and I don't think he was punished. I don't think it was a conspiracy. I don't think it was certainly about race. So look at the other quarterbacks that were represented. Certainly a lot of diversity and inclusiveness with the draft process, with the quarterback position. So that was that. But recapping for the Texans. Looking at Jaylen Smith, I didn't get into much with Jaylen Smith yet, but that's a versatile player. And, you look at what he did. So he rejoins Kalen Bullock. He visited the Texans. He visited the Tennessee Titans, the Falcons, the Commanders, the Buccaneers, Cardinals, Eagles. 21 games started at nickel for the Trojans. 10 games outside corner, once at safety. 2 interceptions last year. Good athlete, 4.45 speed, 1.6 10-yard split, and a 32.5-inch vertical leap, 10-2 broad jump, 3rd-team All-Big Ten, 49 tackles, 4 for losses. He's a willing hitter. He's a tackler. He'll mix it up. There's some pretty good hits from him, some good sticks from Jaylen Smith. So, he's someone that you can count on in run support. He can blitz a little bit. I think he can do a lot of things. He'll be good at special teams. Was he graded by everyone in the NFL as a 3rd rounder? No, but if they want the player, that doesn't matter. It's how they value him. So I don't have a problem with that. If you have a defined role, you're going to use him and get the most out of Smith. That makes a lot of sense. So that's the player they wanted, and they got it done. A lot of people that do the draft, analysts for a living, they get upset because they think this player's, I think he's a 6th rounder, he's a 7th rounder. Yes, some people thought that. He was a day 3 guy. Doesn't matter where they pick him if they like him. So, there could be players. I know there are a lot of teams that had 1st-round grades on Arante Ursary. Well, the Texans got him in the 2nd round, and that's okay too. But, yeah, they wheeled and dealed to get today Woody Marks. So, looking at the terms of the trade and how they got this done. There have been so many trades. I don't even have it on my screen currently. But, they traded next year's 3rd-round pick, and they maneuvered to get this trade done to get Woody Marks, Mr. Toy Story. And now he's a Texan, and this offense is looking pretty dynamic. I was getting a lot of texts from people around the NFL. Hey, this Texans offense with Nico Collins, Jaden Higgins, Jalen Noel, Christian Kirk, and having Joe Mixon and now Woody Marks. And, if they can get more out of the tight end position, that would help with Dalton Schultz. Hopefully comeback year for Dalton after really a rough season this past year. So, help for more after that big contract he signed. And to get just more production. They've overhauled the offensive line. That's the big thing. And I know a lot of people ask about the offensive line. How is it going to look? The configurations. They're still figuring it out. I really think now that they've added offensive linemen with Arante Ursary, he could take out Cam Robinson for left tackle, possibly, even though they've invested in him. He could be a guard. They've never tried that before, but maybe he can play guard. I think he could also be their best right tackle. Maybe you keep Titus Howard inside, Jared Patterson at center, and then you see how do you feel about right guard between Juice Scruggs and Ed Ingram or Laken Tomlinson or even Titus Howard. So there's a lot of flexibility, a lot of things they can do. But for now, the Texans, they feel like they could line up today and be better than last season. Better than last season, going from bad to solid would be a major accomplishment. Maybe that's enough for them to take the next step. But a lot to happen between now and the first game in terms of determining that offensive line. But, we'll be charting that, obviously, and tracking it really closely. But Woody Marks will run behind those guys, and we'll see how he and Joe Mixon and everybody does. And I think it's an interesting draft so far for the Texans, but they are getting some things done. Could still use a defensive tackle. We'll see if that happens here in the later rounds. Look forward to talking to you guys when it's all over, after we talk to Nick Caserio and D'Amico Ryan to kind of recap some things. I'll be busy for a little while with undrafted free agents, all that kind of stuff. Thanks, guys. Talk to you soon.